Hey, welcome to Jesism. We'll be doing the group meditation and discussion today. I'm joined by Logan.
What's up?
You guys remember Logan? He's been in a few videos now.
A couple.
Logan's in demand. There's a few people who say, there's some of these people who comment, they say, hey, bring that guy back. So this is our big chance. Oh, if we're lucky, it'll just be the two of us, you know?
Yep.
And then we can dig into stuff. But anyways, I'm just so glad y'all are here, and I want you to understand, for real, look into my eyes, that I feel like the things that we discuss on this channel and that we'll be discussing today are really important, and that without getting a grip on what life is built on, anything you build on top of that foundation is going to crumble, and I see a lot of crumbling around me. So if you want something solid, listen to this conversation. All right. Well, we got a tall order now.
Yeah, right?
Oh, man. So let's have a little small talk just because the two of us. So to start off, how you feeling, man?
Honestly, not bad.
Nice.
The weather's been great. Just be outside as much as possible.
Yeah, it is nice, man. And like, especially for somebody like me who's on a night schedule, to have an extra hour of daylight.
Oh yeah, and it's not freezing at night anymore.
Yeah. No, I'm thrilled by it, man. Business picks up too for me downtown. Probably a lot of.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine because people like, although me personally, I wouldn't want to be riding on the back of a when it's freezing
it's 30
outside.
degrees, no, hold on. So pleased all around, and I'm feel lucky to kind of have, you know how life is sort of ups and downs, you know. So it's nice to be kind of on the recovery swing in pretty much every major area of my life right now.
Just getting ready to be at the point where you can just like coast, you know.
Yeah, getting there.
That's the dream. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the dream. I guess my suspicion about that is that the way to coast is to accept that coasting is an illusion. And then within that, you, like when, let's say like I were to be diagnosed with cancer, if you really understand that life is changing and unstable and that gifts are taken away, but that other gifts are then given, that it's a roller coaster, accepting that, then that cancer diagnosis, if you truly understand that, better than I do, but if you truly understand that it's another day in the hood, cancer, you know? And I think that kind of stability is the only kind, because everything we gain, we lose.
Yeah, for me, it's not like I know it's never going to be permanent, but it's just like a soak it in while it lasts type thing.
Yeah. Well, definitely at least that, yeah. You wouldn't want to be one of those people who's like, oh shit, when am I going to lose this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there are a lot of those people around, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that before, and it just sucks. You don't get to enjoy the good times that you're having because you're like, when is the next bad time going to happen? Like, it's a shitty way to do it.
It's a terrible way to do it, yeah. Well, I'm glad that we're both don't have any major complaints at the moment, yeah. Well, let's see. I think I have some things that, let's see. Yeah, so I have these like little administrative things that I mention just so everybody's like, you know, on the same level each Sunday. But there's really not much. You can pretty much assume it'll be every Sunday at 7 until, like, I'll let you know if it's not.
Okay.
But I'll keep I guess I'll keep like being like, yo, come.
Yeah, you're pretty good about
but just like, just so like on Wednesday and shit, when you're like, is it gonna happen? It's definitely gonna happen on Sunday at 7. Just so you know. And then I guess I should say, like, I am like, this is starting to get a little bit more organized, which is good. And so it's getting to be changing from more like, it's getting slowly veering away from being like a rant that just exists as an isolated rant to like almost like a curriculum, like a little tiny bit like that, like where shit's like adding up. So it's ending up where people who are here with a little bit of regularity, or there's one person who's here almost every time, that it's like building off of itself, you know, like first we study this law, then the next law, then the next. So in other words, it would probably be, if, you know, everybody's got their own thing, but if convenient, like regularity is going to help. Coming regularly, of course, I want you to be here, but apart from that, it's really going to help, like, make, like, the shit we say on any given day will build, maybe more built off the shit we say previous days, you know? So it might be cool. I'm just like encouraging people to come regularly, but you know, you already know that. I've already been doing that plenty with you. So yeah, that's pretty much it. No pressure. Did you get a chance to glance at this?
Oh, a little bit, not,
Okay,
not super in depth though. I need to take a better look at it.
No stress. So this might be a good thing to play with. We could play with this.
Oh, for sure.
I think
Do you
actually.
have another copy so we can both just go through?
Oh.
If you wanted to.
You want to do it like that?
Oh, I thought that's what you had in mind.
Well,
like
we could do it like that. I was gonna do like a guided thing where we meditate.
Yeah,
and
let's
I'll,
do
like,
that then.
walk
That's
you
good
through
too.
it. Yeah. Okay.
Good.
So I don't want to spend forever on that, but who knows? We might. Right. So.
Hey, just wherever it takes us, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So. So I'll give you like an introduction to what this is, like verbally, and then I'll walk you through it in a meditation and actual exercise. Okay. So basically, this is sort of the culmination and the sift through of what I've learned about meditation that has worked for me to realize things that let me take life, I feel have let me take life a little bit more in stride, you know, and caused me to observe some of the concerns that other people have. It's like pretty laughable, but also sad, you know. And so I feel lucky to have kind of picked up on that. And so this is like the distilled, no bullshit, get rid of everything that's not necessary, keep everything that is meditation that I'm teaching, right? And it's a lot. I mean, almost all of it is like, some of it's ganked from there and borrowed from there and stuff, but the composition of it is original, right? So there's an original layout of how to do it, you know, with pieces from breathing exercises borrowed from there and posture borrowed from there and stuff. So, and it's kind of meant for like real world people. Like, you're not living in a monastery, you have things to do and stuff, you know, so it's kind of meant for people, the everyday kind of person, right? So it's broken down into 6 stages basically, okay? And there are 2, what I call rewards, okay? Because, you know, what's in it for me, right? Mm-hmm. So the 6 stages are, it's more or less like, if you can imagine like a quality control process, right? Let's say you have, or something like that, like you have a raw product, like a lump of clay. Okay, so step 1 is if you're making, let's say, a 3-dimensional yin yang, for example, right? Or a basketball. You have a lump of matter, you shape it into a sphere. Then you draw the lines on it, then you wrap it in rubber, then like you paint it, and then you go play basketball with it, right? So this is basically like that. There's 6 stages. It's almost like a assembly line process, okay? The first step is, well, actually, I'll save that for when I walk you through it. But the 2 rewards that I want to mention, so this is these 6 steps. The first one is that you're gonna like tune the environment, meaning you don't want it to be too bright. Like, this environment's a good example, right? It's not too bright, it's not too dark. It's not too like loud, it's not too quiet, right? It's a nice little womb. It's almost like a little womb. It's not, but you don't want it to be too comfortable, but you don't want it to be too uncomfortable. And we can get into all that at a later point in time. But basically, you want it to be tuned like a guitar, not too tight, not too loose, you know? So, or like a nut that you're screwing in, not you don't want to strip it, but you want it to be tight. You want it just in that point, like a balancing point. So the environment you want to set like that wherever you're meditating, right? As much as you can. So the next thing is the body, right? So you want to, it's the same, you're going to want to tune it, right? You can't spend all day sort of like for example, massaging your legs and like, you know, like getting your body to just the right temperature and so that'll take all day and you'll never meditate, right? But you want to check off the major boxes. And these are the things that are going to, if you're sitting for like say a half hour or 20 minutes or 45 minutes, these are the things that are going to come up and enter your mind as disturbances. So the most obvious ones are if you have to piss, right? Like if you're sitting there for 10 minutes and you have to piss, but you intended to sit for 20 minutes. Now, for the last 10 minutes, you're gonna be like harassed by this desire to piss.
Yep.
So same with desire. I'm trying to swear, say fewer swears. So same with desire to defecate, right? To poop. Like you're, you want to hold that in check in this part of the assembly line before like meditating. Okay.
Yeah. So drinking water for me is a big one.
Yeah, I drink a ton of water. I drink like a gallon a day. So you probably drink a lot too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and you have your water there. But in this case, you're gonna want to. Ideally, you're gonna want to take care of that need before you meditate. And the reason is for all this tuning of all this shit is that you want, once you start meditating, you're going to want to really commit. Like you're going to be like, I'm not going to get up. It's a very important part of this for reasons that I explain better in here. But basically, it's very important that it's like a true commitment. Like, of course, if somebody comes in with a gun, you're going to want to get up. But like it's almost an extreme kind of thing. I'll give you an example. When I lived in a monastery, the abbot there was a very austere monk. He was very experienced, all this stuff. He was very like sort of high ranking in that world, right? And one time I was outside of the zendo, that's the meditation hall, and there was like a little window in the zendo. It's very small, but sometimes it's open to let in the sound of the birds and stuff. But I happened to be outside not meditating that day, and I was talking to an old friend. And at the time I was doing martial arts, and for some reason it came up, like we were talking about the monk, and he was kind of like a bit of a curmudgeon. And in the conversation I mentioned that I could kill him. I would never do that, but I just mentioned in like a casual guy conversation, like, oh yeah, I could kill him, kind of thing. I was young, I was 20, right? And so this is like a very provocative thing to say when a bunch of people are fucking meditating with that abbot as the leader of the meditation. You're talking about killing him, and the window's open, right? Yeah. And I learned that this had happened, but they didn't get up. And it was a long conversation about this, right? So going like, there wasn't like 10 minutes of me talking about killing the person that's operating, which I would never ever do. And I love that guy, actually. I fucking love him, but just in that moment. Yeah. And so that's the kind of commitment, right? Like, you know, the kind of, and he never said anything to me about that, ever. It's like it never happened. But I mean, he knows it happened. But somebody else who was down there said something. So it's that kind of thing, right? So commitment. Okay, so that's the body, right? Itches, like if you have like a chronic itch, like something that's really been itching, you might want to like let that itch be finished. You know what I mean? Like itch it till it's done.
You know, itches, or they always pop up when you, like, as soon as you start thinking, well, it'd suck for this to happen right now.
Yeah, but that's the thing is that once you commit, it's like they ring bells, and I even brought a bell, right? They ring bells for this because like once that fucking bell rings, like it's on. Like, and meditation can be real. I always sort of like do it very lightweight in here because people are new and stuff, but it's like on. It's like this is like you are in the cage match now. And like the only way to win is to stay still. It's like serious. It's hard, you know. It's rigorous, you know. At least it's somewhat rigorous, you know. So you're taking care of those things because once you sit, like there's almost like no going back, kind of. And then so that's the body, right? And then the other ones are they're different in the sense that like, well, let's just describe it. So the next one is the posture, right? So this is like, the posture is kind of, it's a little hard to, I'm still learning how to teach all this, right? But the posture is like, it's one of the components of posture is the pose, right? So now I'm in a pose, you're in a pose, everybody's in a pose, right? Pose just means how your body's held. Like if you had a diagram of the angles of my knees and the angles of your knees and your feet and everything, like literally just a picture of like bullet points of all the joints, that's a pose. It doesn't matter what fucking pose it is, they're all poses, right? But the idea is you kind of want, the idea of the posture is two things. One, you want to pick one, and you're going to commit in the same way, right? Where you kind of are not going to move, you know? And then, so there's the commitment of the pose. It really kind of doesn't matter which one. You could be in any pose, sort of. But then the second characteristic of the pose is that you want one that you want one that's, here's a good way of saying it, you want a pose that's going to give your mind like freedom, right? So for example, like this is just a scientific fact, right? If you have a pose like this, you're gonna feel like a badass. Do you know that? It's just a thing in science. It's called like feedback, somatic feedback or something. Like if you do, like Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. It's like if you do this, you'll feel like a shit. If you do this, you'll feel like a loser. Like your brain will feel like a loser, you know. So you can just look it up or whatever, but take my word for it. It's a scientific fact. You get like 10 people do this, they feel like losers. 10 people like this, they feel like the shit. And also other people will think you're the shit too. Did you know that?
Yeah, and it's like a thing like walking, I guess, is kind of similar, like walking with your chest out, like arms wide.
Other people think you're the shit, but also your brain will be like, your brain goes like this, how am I doing? How am I doing? And it literally asks your body, one of the things it asks is your body, and then your body's like, oh, I'm doing great, and then your brain's like, oh, I guess I'm doing great. It's just a weird part of the human body. So in any case, so the posture, so for that reason, you're not going to want a posture that makes you feel like you're great, right? You're going to want a posture in meditation that makes you understand what I've been teaching, which I don't know, again, this is the cumulative part, right? I don't know if you were here for these, but I teach these 5 laws of liberation. Basically, they mean like, this is how I believe the world works. So you want a posture that's going to encourage an understanding of how the world works. Okay, not, which isn't, by the way, that you or I are that great. I'm not that great. If I have a posture that is encouraging that, well, it's going to confuse me because you're going to be better at ping pong than me. And then I'm going to feel terrible because I thought I was great, right? And that's not riding the wave, that's being caught on it, right? Which is exactly what we don't want, right? Okay. So there's different kinds of postures, obviously, right? There's this kind, there's that kind, there's standing, there's laying down, there's, all kinds. There's postures of the hands. Remember, posture, or I'm sorry, pose means how the body's held. So that even this pose is different than this pose. You see, everything, it's very specific, right? I tell a story in here about poses. So in the monastery I lived at, you're supposed to hold your hands like this, right? It's called the cosmic mudra, right? But anyway, the point isn't like all that woo-woo shit. The point is, when one time I had a terrible cold and I was sniffing like this a lot in the Zendo, and that's considered bad etiquette because you're like disturbing everybody. So the monk, that same abbot, came up to me and he goes, he was he's one of the best men I've ever met in my life, for sure. But he was not a very charismatic person, right? And so he kind of came up to me after, he's like, Jesse, let me tell you something. And I'm sitting there, and he's telling me, he's like, do not sniff. And then he said, what I should do is literally let the mucus drop into my hands and catch it, so it didn't spill onto my lap. Okay, think about that. Isn't that nuts? I thought that was crazy when he told me that.
Yeah.
You'll let a string of mucus and don't sniff. So I'm not going to ask anybody to do that, but I'm just saying, that's the kind of commitment that I was taught, right? For whatever it's worth. But it also means, well, it has something to do with pose, right? And so this is what it would be called a very lazy, I guess, quarter lotus, right? Well, it doesn't matter what you call it. But the point is that this is kind of a good, you almost have to trust me on this. It's kind of a good pose. Okay, it's kind of a whole chapter that I've never talked about or taught, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm gonna have to kind of build this up in my head to share with you, right? I've never shared it before, but basically, this is kind of a good pose because, why? Because it will cause, it does a few things, but what it does is again, I have to read my, why don't you do this pose with me? If you can you sit in that couch like that? Is that comfortable enough?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Well,
Okay.
Oh.
Feel free to make adjustments. Yeah. So how about this? This is a better way of teaching, actually. Why don't you feel what this feels like? You were in that pose. Now you're in this pose. So there's a difference. Take a second, and then whenever you're ready, just tell me what's different about it.
Oh, this isn't super comfortable.
Okay, good. So hold it anyway.
Yeah.
So why?
Ankles.
What about them?
They're no good.
They hurt?
No, my ankles are just bad. So,
Okay, so they're in pain.
Yeah, well, not like, pain's a stretch. Like, slight discomfort,
Okay.
you know?
So that's definitely going to get worse in like 10 minutes or...
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, so what that means is, I would say, is that is not a good pose for you. Because that message, you're going to have to manage that message in your brain. You're going to be thinking about girls, you're going to be thinking about money, you're going to be thinking about pets. But what's going to happen is that you'll also have an additional baggage, if you will, right, of the ankles. You'll be like, oh, my ankles, and girls, and money, and... So the whole point, one of the main points of meditation is to reduce the amount of input into your brain. You want to kind of make an effort to reduce additional input into the brain. So those ankles of yours are going to serve as, like, my knees will hurt after a while. That's why I don't sit in full lotus, because my knees aren't built for that, right? With full lotus where it's all wrapped up like that. So you're going to want to I would advise you to remove that pain by changing your posture. So why don't you just change it however you want, and then we'll create your posture together. And you can do anything. I don't care what, you can literally fucking stand on one foot. You can do anything you want. I'll just watch, and you just whatever feels right or balanced for you.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
That's fine. I mean, even if it's uncomfortable, it's not like distracting, you know? Because it's super easy to just not pay attention to it.
Well, what does it feel like?
Oh, fine. Relaxing.
Okay.
But I do maybe uneven.
Uneven. Your body.
Yeah.
Like your torso?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is it uneven? Like, read your own body. Like, why is it uneven?
More weights on this side than I have over here because the way my feet are placed.
Okay. Because of the way they're crossed.
Which again isn't like something that's like annoying necessarily, but it could be distracting.
So what I'm going to say is that this aspect of the posture is very important. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like with all due respect or whatever, it sounds like you're like trivializing these. Oh, my ankles, but it's fine. Or like, oh, the weight, but it's fine. I'm going to advise you to look at it differently, right? That this is very important that this be corrected. Whatever the aspect, everybody has their own thing, you know? They have this in their back, this in their neck, this in their hips, but something has to be found which is non-stimulating, non-balanced, non-imbalance. So that if your weight is shifting, then I would advise you take that seriously. That's kind of the point, is like, don't trivialize that. You don't have to do what I'm doing at all. Yeah. You have to find, I would advise you to find a pose that is sort of unintrusive, that is not troublesome.
Yeah.
Definitely not troublesome at all. You don't want troublesome. So go ahead, you can shift it. I mean, you can literally sit any way. You can sit on that counter. I don't give a shit. Like, yeah.
Honestly, just sitting. If it's on like a couch, if it were on the floor, it'd probably be different. If it's on the couch, just sitting down.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah, and that's totally cool, right? So we found like that's like the basis of the posture, right? Is like you have your feet on the floor, you're on a couch, your back is against the thing, your hand. In this case, right now, your fingers are interlaced, and kind of your weight, I guess, looks like it's on your butt, mostly, right? Shoulders are moved forward a little bit. So what I'd like you to do is just see what that feels like, just for a moment, like silently, like, what does this feel like? Your body,
Comfortable. Like,
well,
I don't know, what do you want me to, how do you want
Okay,
to
I'll give you an
explain it?
example, right? Like for myself, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So some tension in the shoulders at the base of the neck. The head feels forward too much, so I tighten the lower back a little. Lift the shoulders. Much better. Shoulders on the far end of the shoulders feel too forward. Like tighten the lower back. Tilt the head ever so slightly forward. And again, bringing the chest forward slightly. And the head up, squeezing from the neck, pulling up. Breathing, slowing down. So like that, right? So I'm becoming very attuned to the inner world of my body, right? This really takes some practice. Have you ever had any like experience with that kind of thing?
Not at all.
Oh, okay, cool,
Yeah.
cool. So that's fine. You don't need to have experience. You don't need to know anything about that to do this. So then, but what you do need to do is the important thing is to commit to a pose which doesn't fuck with you, basically. You know what I mean? So if that doesn't make you uncomfortable, it's not troublesome, then go with that pose. And I'll just give you a few suggestions because for whatever it's worth, I am like super duper familiar with my body and sort of how it works, and I can kind of get an idea of what you might be going through internally. So on the basis that I might make suggestions, you can throw them out or not, doesn't matter, right? But in any case, you're sitting like that. So yeah, so the pose is like this, but the pose, let's see here. So what I would say is the head has to, I know you're talking to me,
Yeah.
right? So, but right now I would put the head ahead, right? So you want symmetry all the way down. So just think about that. You want to enforce symmetry all the way down, except your hands. Okay. What happens if you put your feet together? You don't have to overlap them yet. And then let the knees fall to the side.
Yeah, that's good. That feels more even.
Okay,
You know?
good. And let those feet kind of rest together. There can be a little bit of pressure. They can lean on each other if you want, the feet. And just breathe, basically. Generally, people want to, I know it sounds weird, but want to unbutton the top button of their pants. I know that sounds really fucking weird, but it's a thing because it allows just for more like freedom for breathing stuff. So that's an option for you.
Yeah.
I totally understand it. If you
I got a belt on. It would be a whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When you're alone, though, I would advise you to follow through. Maybe loosen the belt. So we're going to put a checkbox right now on the posture, right? So that's the third step, is the posture. So we're good there. So maintain the posture. And the fourth step is the breath. We're working with the same principle. Not too loose, not too tight. Not too rough, not too easy. So, especially for somebody who's just kind of getting used to this sort of stuff, what I would say is focus on just watching your breath. Don't worry about doing anything with it. Just watch it, Like it's like a room full of people. And all of a sudden you notice this girl that you didn't notice before, and you like her. That's your breath. So you're gonna kind of watch her just to get an idea what she's about before you go talk to her. You just see how she eats her food, how she talks to her friends. That's your breath. You're gonna see how it moves in and it moves out. And the pause is just watching. You can't go talk to her. You can't engage her right now. So you're just gonna watch. And for you, I think if you just watch, then you will complete the fourth step perfectly. But watch very, very carefully. Imagine that this was your only chance ever to get with a girl, this girl you see across the room. And there's plenty of other guys there. So you've got to know this girl because you got one shot. You have 5 minutes or whatever to know what she likes, how to talk to her, how to engage her. So you've got to know her. This is once in a lifetime opportunity to breathe right now with me in this situation here and now. So really take advantage of every movement of air on your nose and in your throat, in your chest, your abdomen. Every little swash and swirl of air and pulsation of your body, just be intimately, super intimately aware. You could expand those powers of intimacy with your breath as you meditate over weeks and months. And when you expand that, you'll begin to realize that different breaths have different results. And eventually I can teach you that there's a certain rhythm that I outline here, a certain rhythm that will create tranquility in your mind, like magic, really. That if you breathe in a certain way, your mind will become quiet. It's just as simple as that. And you can learn that just like you can learn to be a carpenter or anything else. For now, I would say when you go home and meditate or you're here, just watch the breath. Just watch it. That's enough for now. Okay? The fifth step is what I call the breath posture. So this is almost like, it's not the same as the breath nor the posture. Breath posture is like basically like a child or an offspring of those two. It's a different thing. The breath posture is where the breath and the posture have an interaction. So with the breath, when I made those adjustments that I told you about, do you know how I knew how to adjust those things?
No.
It was my breath told me, basically. So it's a breath, and then when the posture moves, the breath changes, and back and forth. Okay? And that dialogue, or they're basically one thing. That the breath and the posture lose their difference, their separation, and so that has to be tuned as well. You got stiff thighs.
Yeah, everything's
stiff.
kind of broken.
Well, you're working out a lot, right?
Yeah, I don't think it was that though. This has been like that for a while.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Well, this stuff. Well, I'm teaching yoga here probably this week. If you want to get in on that, it could be very helpful.
Okay.
And it's more that like chill shit. It's not like dancing around and stuff. It's more like because my body's hurt too.
Yeah.
I'm real physical, so I need that like restorative, like heal me type stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, for another time. But this breath posture has to be tuned, just like a guitar string, so that it's like they're listening to each other, but they're independent. Both. It's like a back and forth. It's much like a romantic relationship. Where they're kind of independent, but they're together. They cooperate, but they express themselves individually. So that relationship is the fifth step. Okay. And then the fifth step. And the sixth step is that once this is all kind of held together, the body, the breath, there will come about an awareness, like I think ordinarily people just kind of live life like a first-person shooter, kind of, you know what I mean? But you'll become aware that there's a guy playing the first-person shooter. You'll go from in the first-person shooter to the room or the globe, you know? And this detached awareness is what I call the view, right? Is how we view things. It is a little hard to explain, I guess, but it's kind of like, I guess it means like this. There's the world, like you right now in front of me, right? And then I paint on the world. Like, oh, does Logan like me? Is Logan listening? Does Logan think I'm full of shit? These are all additions to reality. The reality is you, like here. Just like the reality of the breath is the breath, not the thoughts about it. And so when all these things come together, there becomes like almost like a little bit like an objectification, or like you'll be able to see that you are adding things very clearly, not just like psychologically like in therapy or something, but you'll be able to literally witness that you're adding things and subtracting things too, you know? And so the view which is added to is a confused view, because it's obviously adding stuff to it, right? That's how you misunderstand people and situations. The view that is subtracted from is likewise confused. So the purpose of this meditation, or one of the benefits, I guess, is that your view will become cleaned. So you'll see things as they are. You know what I mean? Like, you won't be bullshitting yourself all the time, basically. It will become very obvious what's going on. You know, with people, you'll know what their games are right away, immediately. There'll just be no delay. Or, you know, if your plants need to be watered, but that means you'll have to go home, you'll know right away if they really need to be watered or not, you know. These will be very clear to you, you know. As you know from my personal life, you can't be clear about everything, but overwhelmingly you will be, and you'll always be clear that you're not clear. You know what I mean? So it's a huge asset in practical matters, you know, but also just in being happy, because that lack of clarity is what leads to those waves. You go, oh, I thought I was keeping this, but you're not. I thought I was losing this, but you're not. You know, anxiety over fear of loss of pleasure, or like over identification with when that loss occurs, is like, fuck man, I lost this and that, and that. All those things that increase the height of the wavelengths of life will become much more modulated when your view of things is clear. And that might be a little bit hard to understand without having practiced meditation, but just kind of take my word for it that doing the posture and the breath and stuff will make that realm accessible to you and will really help. Okay. So, and any questions on that?
No, just keep going.
Okay, you soaking it in? Okay, yeah. Cool. So when you do this, like for a while, there will be two benefits which will occur, right? I call them rewards, right? And so the first one is, it's called Samadhi. So that's obviously a borrowed word from, I guess, Sanskrit or something. But basically what it means is there will arise a state of emptiness, like right in the moment. It won't be like something that you're pointing at. It'll be like an orgasm. Like, it'll just be, you won't even really be there to notice it, but you'll notice it, if that makes any sense. It'll be like, and that space is like coming home, to the home that we left a long time, like, I mean, forever ago, that we may have never even been there before, possibly. But when in that emptiness, there will be so much resting that all the things, imagine all the things we're concerned about, anything, right? Or anticipating, that all those things are all there humming, don't you know, all day, throughout the day. Even when you're doing this thing, they're humming and harassing us, right? So in the state of Samadhi, that will just drop, like gravity, like a bunch of things suspended in the air just drop to the ground. And there'll be nothing there. And this will cause a tremendous relief of stress, basically, because there won't be anything to point at, to be stressful about. Like, when I experience Samadhi, the various concerns I have about Libby and money and this and that, they're not there. They're not like lurking somewhere. Another way of saying it is, I recognize that they never were there. Because my point of view is that they aren't. That the various things that stress me out are actually not really real. And that's for another time. That's obviously a tough sell, right? But in Samadhi, you will see that for yourself. You'll know immediately that they're not real. And you kind of have to get there to see it, I guess. And then, you know, you might experience like, after like a second or third month, you might get like a little, just like the littlest thing, like of Samadhi, but you'll know it for sure. You'll be like, whoa, that's really different than my normal thing, you'll say. And you'll kind of want more of that, I guess. But because you want more and you pointed at it, then you won't be able to find it because you're pointing at it like it's a thing, but it's not a thing. So then it will elude you for a while, for another 3 months. And then you'll be like, well, whatever. And then it'll be there twice, you know, like for a minute now. And by, it's a game of cat and mouse, really. But by and by, you realize eventually that the world actually, that's not something you created, that the world is actually empty at all times. And again, it's a tough sell, but you will realize that if you do this enough. And then from there, you won't need to pursue Samadhi anymore. Like if I don't experience Samadhi for a month, which is very rare for me, but if that occurs, it doesn't bother me at all. Because this is already the way things are, is Samadhi. So it's just going to come around, you know, and having that, I guess, faith or awareness makes it much more likely to come around. And I experience Samadhi regularly or often, sometimes for months at a time, consistently, because I'm not concerned about getting it. But it will come for you if you do this. It will come for you because it's the way things are. Reality wants to assert itself. It's all these things outside of us that want to suppress it. But if you retreat from that world of things, commercial commodities and people and things, if you retreat in this way, then the world will the world as it is will present itself to you, which is, in fact, empty. It doesn't have, the things we perceive are basically, we dreamed them up. They're just not substantial, you know? And the other reward is, which is maybe even more important and better, is what I call wisdom, which is you take this empty, the awareness of the world as it is, which is empty, and you take the dream of the world as it is, which is full of shit, full of opportunities, full of girls, full of money, full of threats, damage, losing money, being hurt. You take this world as you know it to be, truly, from meditation, as empty, and then as you perceive it as a dreamer, as being full, and you start to figure out how that shit works. Like, oh damn, like I keep eating cookies because they feel good. It's like a really simple thing, right? But most people don't really know that. They just, sure, they would tell you that, but do they really understand? Because with wisdom, you know how it feels good. It feels good on your tongue. It feels good on your brain. When you understand all that, you're free of it because you know you literally understand the spell. It's like a girl, somebody who seduced you. If you understand the seduction, well, then you're immune to it, you know? And so that kind of immunity, and that goes for wisdom penetrates everything in the world because the world is fundamentally empty. Therefore, no component of the dream can't be seen through, can't be disenchanted by this meditation. That's a pretty cool thing. So,
do you have any examples of how you've experienced? Don't know how to pronounce the word properly.
Samadhi. Yeah. I mean, I could probably experience it in a couple minutes right here, right now, but You know, one way of saying it is that it doesn't matter really what the situation is. I'm not sure how I would answer that. Like, so in this room, you ask me this question on camera, and I wrestle for an answer in my mind. And I realize that the answer to the question is the question, because it's that very wrestling, which is the unsamadhi. That's the unsamadhi. So I give up. I relax on that. It's like a cat, a well-behaved cat, that you pick up and you try to move around. But if you just let it go, it will be well-behaved. If you pick it up, it will not be. And so in that moment, my attention drifts from the struggling with the answer to my heartbeat, to the adequacy of the room. The lighting is adequate. There's a fundamental adequacy or perfection. And if I never answer your question, it doesn't matter. There's a distance from these things, you know, right in that moment. And so that's like samadhi, you know.
Gotcha. I like that.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's really been nice for me to have in my life, and I just noticed that it's not really something people do much of, and so I would like, you seem like a cool guy. I never had a problem with you. Like, I would like you to have this too, you know, like that would be cool. Like, that would be a cool thing.
I feel like it's a hard thing to obtain, though.
It is, but this will do so much. This will take you 70% of the way there, and the other 30% will be these meetings every week. Yeah.
For me, it kind of feels like it's a way to help deal with like everything you have going on, right? Like, you have all this, like, let's say this is the bad thing's happening, this bad thing's happening. Just being able to like let go of it and just like escape from it, but like at the same time getting to the point where you can do that, the things that are stopping you are the very things that you're trying to just away from.
Say more about that so I can understand better.
So, like, I'm not the greatest at explaining things, but I'll give it a go.
We got it. Yeah.
So, I'm trying to, not me specifically, just like in general, like let's say someone's trying to set aside all these like negative things that are happening to them, like let's say they're struggling paying bills, they don't have money, or like just something bad happens to them, like they fall on the way to work or something, their arms hurt and they can't move it very well. Being able to like separate yourself from all that and just find like space to breathe, essentially, like the things like at the same time that are like making it hard to get there are those very things.
Making it hard to get there are those things.
Yeah.
So the broken arm is what makes it hard to get to the quiet place. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, in a way. It's more like the fact that you're like thinking of it constantly. It's like hard to separate yourself when you're, this is the one thing that it's constantly going through your head is like, oh, this sucks, this is happening, this is happening.
And exactly. So that helps me understand what you're saying. Like, so I agree. I think is that it's not the circumstances that make life difficult. I don't believe that. You know, strong people.
It's more perceptions.
Yeah, it's more perception, right? And so this, and also circumstances are beyond our, by definition, are beyond our control, right? So even if they do have a big impact, who cares? Because they're going to happen, right? But perception, I think, is the world is fine. It's not great, but it's fine the way it is. Even the terrible things. That's how it is. But we make the hell, all the hell on earth is made up of the way we reinterpret things, not the way things are. It's the way we reinterpret them. In other words, death is not wrong. Death is natural. Pain is not wrong. Pain is natural. Everybody will die. Everybody will experience pain. Everybody will experience loss. So those things are not wrong, and they're also inevitable. They must happen. They must. Sickness must happen. Loss must happen. So these things are not problems. They're incorporated. The minute you're born, you're doomed to lose everybody you love, die, and suffer. That's it. So breaking your arm is not a problem. That's normal. That's the right thing. You broke your arm, welcome to life. That's how it is, It's the storytelling about it. Oh, but I broke my arm, but I was supposed to play basketball today and my team was counting on me, and like, why does this always happen to me, and all these sorts of things, the story about it is what makes life miserable. So what I've taught, what I'm teaching is that, like, this whole Jesism thing is like, it's built on a core of like 5 laws of life. That this is how life works, basically, right? There's no way around it. And they're all like, I think any normal person will be like, what the fuck? But if you look, you'll see. So the first one is that life is unsatisfactory, which means that when you're born, you'll fall sick. So it's seen as unsatisfactory. Oh, it's not right, I'm sick. Or when you get a new car, it gets dented. That's the way of new cars. But the fact is that people don't understand it's the way of new cars. And so when the damage occurs, I'm not talking about you specifically, but when the damage occurs, it's seen as unsatisfactory. This is wrong. I want the car not to be damaged, but it is damaged, so there's a problem. But there's no problem. That's the way of cars. It's just a very natural thing. So pain, loss, and death are inevitable, but unsatisfactoriness is something we create because we won't accept that life is full of pain. So we make something worse, which is a story where that pain never ends, ever. Because all the things that happen to me are wrong, and all the things that are going to happen are wrong, and all these wrong things might happen at any time. And so that is hell. Death is just life, and loss is life. So the first thing I teach is that life is unsatisfactory. And the second one is that life is change, meaning, which is sort of similar, but it means that, like, these things don't stay the same, right? Like, even if you get something nice, like, say when people get married, typically they think, oh, this is good now, so we'll keep this just like this. But anybody who's been married knows that very quickly it's not the way it was when they got married. So they'll say, like, put a penny in a jar for every time you have sex the first year of marriage, and take one out every time you have sex after that, and you'll still have pennies left in the thing, right? Yeah. So, but they think it's going to stay the same, but it won't, and that causes great trouble too. And the third one is really hard to understand, but it's very important, is that there just isn't any self in this world.
In what way do you mean?
So it means that when I say Jess, what you think of as this guy who goes places and does things and says things and stuff, I'm saying that is not real. That is not, like, Jess is not real. It's just made up. Like, if we were to imagine, like, a cloud filled with, like, angels that were all, like, smoking crack in this room, smoking crack in a cloud, well, that would not be real right now, right? There's no such cloud, is there?
No.
No. So that's not real. Well, that's the same as jest. Is less real than that. You should put more faith in the cloud of angels in this room smoking crack than in jest. It's not real.
And if that's the case, then what is real?
Well, what is real is what there is.
And with like an example, like is that something that's possible or?
Well, you already,
Because how does Jess and like your experiences, like the things you've done, the places you've been,
they're not my experiences. This is just all of this is just a movement of information. You see,
Yeah.
of electrons and neurotransmitters and stuff. There's no persona. There's no person this is housed within. It's just literally a lump of organic matter that came through genetic recombination, through a long lineage of changes in matter and organic matter, that is now basically creating vibrations. This thing, if you will, is creating vibrations, moving through the air and stuff. There's no Jess in that. There's just not. I'm very clear. Like there just is not. And the same is true for you. It's my point of view. And so all these people, it takes a long time to. That's a struggle to see that.
No, I get it, but at the same time I don't. You know?
Right, because it goes against a familiar way of looking at the world.
Yeah.
As like you came here because you wanted to talk to me, and you know you have your water bottle that you got at the store that you like, and you share it with your friends and so on and so on, right?
Yeah.
But I do not believe that actually story. I don't believe that. He's always just.
Then if you don't believe it in that way, how do you perceive it?
Well, I perceive it as everything changing, everything being unsatisfactory, everything lacking self, everything being empty, and everything being perfect. And those are the 5 laws of liberation.
What do you mean by everything being perfect?
Well, what I mean is that the first 4 things seem kind of negative, right? Everything's empty, everything's unsatisfactory, there's no self, everything changes.
But you're saying everything's supposed to be those ways.
It just is that way.
Yeah.
So there's no, it's not necessarily that they're supposed to be that way. It's just there's no alternate reality. The only alternate reality is your brain, which is part of the real reality. So the perfection includes how crazy we are. The fact that people are worried about all these silly things and like doing stupid things is part of the perfection of it all. It's just a part that it's also perfect for one to want a way out of it, to a place where reality is clear. So you might say there's the force that wants reality to be clear and the force that wants reality to be unclear. But the force that wants reality to be clear is good for humanity. The force that wants to be unclear, honestly, is good for machines. If you look at it. So this is sort of this, I'm a minority voice here, but I think it's the most important message in the world. Personally, in this little room where I invited 7 people and only 1 showed up. You know? Yeah.
Definitely something to think on, for sure.
Yeah, I'll let you think on that. I think we'll call it on the video. That was it.
All right.
Yeah. All right, let me say bye to these people. Good times, y'all. I hope you listened and that hits some kind of note for you, because you know, I don't think life needs to be as hard as we make it. But it's up to you, if a solution is offered, to take it. Say bye to Logan. Logan, say bye to the crew.
Later.
Peace, y'all.